Okay guys, so there is 2 different ways that you can make your rice at home. For me, the most fail-proof way is doing it in a rice cooker. It's a case of washing, measuring your rice, putting the water in and pressing go. When it comes on warm, you then know your rice is done. But I know that that's not accessible to everyone, so I'm going to talk you through how to make your rice on the hob. So per 1 cup of rice, it's 1.5 cups of water. So for this course, you're going to need roughly 1.5 to 2 cups of rice, which is around 3 cups of water. You're going to pop your rice into a colander and you're going to wash that rice thoroughly until the water goes clear. Once the water goes clear, you can then transfer that to your pan and then you put in your water. Now, when you're doing it on the hob, the idea is that you bring the water to a boil. Once it's boiling, you then put your lid on. At this stage, this lid does not get removed until you're ready to use your rice. So you bring it up to the boil, you pop your lid on, you then simmer for 20 minutes. Once that simmer is done, you turn off the heat, you're going to pop it to one side, leaving that lid on, and you're going to leave it stand between 25 to 30 minutes. Now after that, you really need to cool that rice down completely. So the quickest way is just to leave that lid off and pop it in the coolest place in your house. And then we are going to move on to seasoning our rice. So there is a real fundamental reason as to why we are seasoning this rice today. Yes, it's going to make it taste better. However, rice carries a lot of bacteria. So the mixture that we're using, which is vinegar, sugar and salt, that combined eliminates that bacteria. And if you are planning on eating this food the next day, it can only be eaten 24 hours after it is produced. But putting this mixture in is going to allow it to be completely safe. So for the 2 cups of rice we've got today, you're going to put in 2 to 3 tablespoons of vinegar, half a teaspoon of salt, and a tablespoon of sugar. And at this stage, the most important thing is we're going to add it in gradually. If you add in too much vinegar, you taste it as you go along. It's really important. It becomes really overpowering. If it's too wet, it's not easy to work with and it's just going to be a disaster. So what we're going to do at this point now, we're going to grab our rice, we're going to grab our vinegar mixture. Now just make sure that you have really mixed the sugar in till it's completely dissolved. And at that stage, we're then going to slowly pour this into our rice and get it all mixed in. And as I mentioned before, we're going to taste as we go along and we're going to ensure that it is the perfect level of vinegary. So we're going to slowly pour that in. If you have a rice paddle, amazing. If not, any spoon will do. And we're just going to make sure that is all completely mixed in. This is something that you can really, once you have mastered the basics, you can get super creative and any ingredient that you enjoy, that you love, really can go into this. So with a grain of sushi rice, if it is undercooked, it will have a white speckle in the center. And at that point, you know, it is pretty dangerous to eat undercooked rice. So it is super important that you are checking that it is completely cooked. So if you can see in the piece of grain that there is a white speckle in the center, that's absolutely not cooked. And sometimes if you are using a rice cooker, you can rectify that problem and you can put it back into the rice cooker. But 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, it has to go in the bin and you need to start again. So right now, we're just making sure the rice is really nicely mixed, and as well at this point we are making sure that it is cool to touch. So what I'm going to do is just have a little taste. So it shouldn't taste too vinegary and it shouldn't taste too sweet. It should just be the perfect balance in the middle. It's a very subtle undertone of flavour, because the beauty of sushi is we can pack in as much flavour as we want, and that is what should overpower the taste of this rice.